the end of a narrative story finishes and makes sense. So think about if you were watching a movie and it had no ending. You would be like, the movie just cut off in the middle. You'll be like, what happened to the rest of it? That's the same thing for if you were writing a story. You want to make sure when you're writing that you have an ending that makes sense and that you finish the story. All right, last one. Go ahead, Byron. What's going to be our answer for the last one?
Beginning.
The beginning. Yes, the beginning of a narrative writing story introduces the characters and the setting. So before you start talking in your story, you got to introduce who's in this story, who's the characters, where are they, when is it taking place. You cannot start writing your story without introducing your characters and setting first. Keep that in mind because you will need to know that for the rest of this week. All right, so now I'll share out what we got. Okay, we got about 66% correct. Okay, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. We're gonna keep it moving and we're gonna make sure that we're practicing knowing what our beginning, middle, and end looks like. So right now, make sure that you are viewing my screen. Make sure that you are viewing my screen so that because we're going to walk through some of this. So we're going to unpack your assignment. You're going to have the same assignment that that Ava had. So Ava had to write a narrative story about George Washington Carver. You all are going to have to write a story about Helen Keller. So, but before that, we want to look at how Ava unpacked her story. So her assignment, we right over here, it said her assignment. So her teacher gave her the assignment and it says, how did George Washington become the plant doctor? So that was Ava's original assignment. She had to write a story about how did George Washington Carver become the plant doctor. Byron, I don't know if you accidentally get unmuted, but make sure when you unmute to mute back, baby. All right. So the second part, so Ava had to read 2 stories about George Washington Carver. So she didn't just wake up and know about George Washington Carver. She had to get her information from somewhere. So Ava read 2 stories about it. Then her assignment said that she had to write a narrative paragraph for her family. Tell the story of how George Washington Carver became the plant doctor. In the beginning, introduce the characters and the setting. In the middle, describe how the characters think, feel, and act, and tell what happens at the end. So some of her think aloud questions. To answer this question, I need to learn about a man named George Washington Carver. So for example, your assignment is going to be to write about Helen Keller. So that means you will have to read 2 stories, which we're about to read together, about Helen Keller. We're going to look for details about how he became the plant doctor. And then lastly, she thought, okay, I'm writing a narrative paragraph for my family, and it will tell who is in the story, what happens, and where it happens. So now today you will learn about your first writing assignment. First, we'll study how Ava unpacked her assignment, which we just did, and this will help you unpack your own assignments. So if we think about who or what will Ava write about? So who was Ava writing about? Make sure you can put your hands up in the chat now. Who was Ava writing about? Go ahead, Byron.
Ava was writing about George Washington. George Washington Carver.
Yep. And where did she find her information about him?
She found him in two stories about him.
Yep, so she used her information from 2 stories about them to help. Great job, Byron. All right, so we're going to move on to our next slide. So now, Okay. It says guided practice. So you guys, so on your tab, so I know you're viewing my screen. Armand and Kamarion, I know that you all are looking at my screen right now, and that's fine. But everybody else who is logged onto Nearpod, switch to your Nearpod tab because you're about to underline, draw a box, and circle what you think. So now this is your actual real assignment now. So your assignment is, how did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? That's going to be your assignment. So you're going to be writing a paragraph, not today, but probably tomorrow or Thursday. You will begin writing a short paragraph, just like how Ava wrote her paragraph about George Washington Carver. Okay, so your assignment is, how did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? We're going to be reading two different stories, Seeing Differently and Helen Keller, A Picture Story. So just like how Ava read those two books about George Washington Carver, we're going to be reading two stories together as well. So in this assignment, so look next to the pencil, it says write a narrative paragraph for your family. Tell the story of how Helen Keller learned her first word in sign language. In the beginning, introduce the characters and the setting. In the middle, describe how the characters think, feel, and act. And then lastly, tell what happens. So everybody should see number one. It says underline the topic of your story. Underline the topic of your story. So everybody, I'm gonna help you all with this first one. So with underlining, our topic is right here at the top. Let me go back. Our topic is right here with our question. How did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? So on your screen, I should see you all underlining. How did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? That's number one. So right here, we have to do number one. Underline the topic of our story. The topic of our story is, how did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? Thank you to those that I see who are doing, they're supposed to be doing. Jemiah, just underline, not scribble all over the page. Armand, oh, I see that you tried to get in, but then it's back. Now, thank you, Kenneth. You might want to make it a little thinner. Unique, Denise, Shania, Ariana, I don't see you guys drawing. Y'all see, make sure you underline. So we're underlining this first sentence right here. How did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? So we haven't read the story just yet, but this is going to help us think. As we're reading, this helps us know, oh, I need to pay attention to how Helen Keller learned letters and how those letters formed words. So right now, everybody should be underlining, how did Helen Keller learn words? Now, if we look at two, number two says, draw a box around what you will write. What are we writing? So think about it. So it's two, I'll give you a hint. It's two words that you should be boxing. What have we been learning about this week? What type of writing have we been learning about? Find that on your page. I'm going to see who gets it right. Everybody right now should be boxing. Yes, Armand?
The second question. Hey, Miss Becker, what she had said again? Can you repeat it, please?
Yes. So it's on your page. It says draw a box around what you will write. So what kind of writing do we have? Think about it. So I'm going to be looking on your screen to see what type of writing have we been talking about this week. You should see it on your page. I'll give you a hint. It's next to the pencil. Next to the pencil is two words. What type of story are you going to be writing? Yes, Kamarion?
A narrative writing.
Yep, so that's what it is. Thank you. So I'm going to box in right here. I'm going to box these two words. So everybody on theirs should be boxing narrative paragraph. That's what we're writing. That's number 2. What will you write? You will be writing a narrative paragraph. All I should see, make a box. Make a box around narrative paragraph. Thank you, Canaria. Thank you, Shania. Narrative paragraph. Then lastly, they want us to circle who we will read, who will read what you write. So who is going to be reading what we write? Quiet, you can put your hand up in the chat. Who did the instructions say that you all were going to be writing to? Diamond, go ahead. Look in the instructions. Who did it say that you guys were going to be writing to?
Helen Keller.
Now, that's who you're going to be writing about, but who's going to read your story? So let's look at the pencil. It says, write a narrative paragraph for your family. Tell the story of how Helen Keller learned her first word in sign language. So who's going to read your writing at the end of the week?
Me.
Yes, you and me too.
Your family.
Yes, the
No, my family. I'm
Family.
going to answer
Family.
the question.
Family.
Thank
My God.
you. Thank you. Family, your family. So this is what your screen should look like. We are practicing how to unpack your assignment. So whenever Ms. Baker gives you an assignment, you're going to be practicing these 3 things. You're going to underline what your topic is. And our topic was, how did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? We want to box the words around what type of writing, because sometimes it's going to be opinion writing, sometimes it's going to be informational writing, and sometimes it's going to be narrative writing. So that's why you want to box. So when you see narrative writing, that means you know, okay, you're about to write a story. You're going to make up a story on your own. Byron, make sure you're muted, sweetheart.
Oh,
All right, so let's go on to the first part of our story. All right, and so as I'm reading, and right now we're gonna read this first part together. I want y'all to tell me, think back to the beginning. First, I know I'm gonna need a green drawing tool. What am I gonna be looking for in the beginning of our story to underline? This goes back to our quiz. Let me see who knows.
Me.
Wait, Who have Kenneth?
Yes.
What am I going to remember? What do we do at the beginning of our narrative stories? What do we underline at the beginning of our narrative story? Remember, the beginning introduces what?
The characters.
And what
The
else?
settings.
Yes, great job, Kenneth. Yes, so as I'm reading this first page, think about who are the characters and what is the setting. And remember, setting is when it takes place and where it takes place. So everybody track the words, even if you track with your finger. Track the words as I get ready to read. You want to track with your finger. This also helps you with unfamiliar words. All right. Helen Keller was born in Alabama in 1880. She got very sick as a baby. Her sickness left her blind and deaf. She could not see or hear. A teacher named Anne Sullivan came to work with Helen. She tried to teach Helen words. She made signs for letters on Helen's hands. For many weeks, Miss Sullivan was unsuccessful. Then one day, she had an idea. So now somebody help me out. I got my green writing tool ready. I want to underline my characters and my setting because this is the beginning. Did they introduce our characters? Go ahead, Diamond. Did they introduce the characters, Diamond?
Yes.
Who was our character? What do I need to underline?
Anna Sylvia.
Sullivan? Huh? Miss Sullivan?
And Sullivan.
Miss Sullivan? That's it?
Helen Keller.
Yes. So Helen Keller and Miss Sullivan, they are both characters. Now somebody help me. Thanks, Diamond. Kamarion, I saw you had your hand up. What is our setting, Kamarion? What's our setting?
The school.
Hold on, wait. So Helen Keller was born where?
In Alabama.
Yes, in Alabama. But that's not it. When? When was she born?
1880.
Yes, 1880. Thank you. So remember, your setting is where it takes place and when it takes place. So it took place in Alabama, but it also took place in 1880. The reason that we want to include when it took place, because it helps us know 1880 was a long time ago. So this helps us know this is not present. This was back in the day. Like, so we can tell by their dresses, we can use their pictures. So this is a story by Amy Lynn called Seeing Differently. All right, we got our characters, Helen Keller and Miss Sullivan, who was her teacher. And now I need to switch to yellow. I'm going to switch to my yellow for the middle. What did we learn about the character? So how is the character feeling and what's going on? What's the action? So Miss Sullivan and Helen, what are their actions? What are some things that they're doing? What did we learn about in this first page? Canaria, I haven't heard from you. I want to hear from you, Canaria. What did we learn about the actions of Miss Sullivan and Helen Keller?
She couldn't see.
Okay, that is definitely important. That is so correct. So her sickness, and this is Helen Keller, it left her blind and deaf. Helen could not see and she could not hear. Could you imagine if you were blind and deaf? Okay, thank you, Canaria. Now somebody give me something about Miss Sullivan. So Canaria gave me something about Helen Keller. Now somebody give me a description of Miss Sullivan. What is she doing? What are her actions? Denise. I know, Byron. I want to hear from some other people, Byron. Denise, what are some of the actions of Miss Sullivan? What is she doing for Helen Keller? Denise, make sure you're paying attention. You never know where I'm going to call on you, neat. What were some of the actions of Miss Sullivan? So make sure you look back at our writing. What were some of the actions of Miss Sullivan? Go ahead, unmute. What do I need to underline for the middle? Come on, y'all. Y'all gonna have to unmute and get with it. Let's go.
I can do it. I'm right here.
Denise and Neek, I hope y'all paying attention. Go ahead, Byron.
She was Miss Sullivan was trying to teach Helen Keller how to do sign language.
Yes, so she started teaching her how to do sign language. Very good. So I'm going to underline that. That is important. So Miss Sullivan, she tried to teach Helen words. She made signs for her letters on Helen's hands. All right, let's go to the next page. We did really good with that one.
Oh.
All right. So now we are on to a different part of the story. This title is called Anne Sullivan. Remember, Anne Sullivan is the teacher. So we're about to hear her point of view. She says, Helen understood the letters that I made on her hand, but she did not know that the letters formed words. I tried many different words. Then one day we walked near the water pump. I put Helen's hand under the cool stream and I made the letter signs for W, A, T, E, and R in her hand. I repeated this many times. Helen's face lit up. She danced with joy. Finally, Helen knew the letters I wrote in her hand meant water. So Helen was learning how to read. Let me try to. No, I don't want to make that bigger. All right. So as Helen was trying to read, Miss Sullivan was doing different things to help her. So one day when they were at the water pump, she began to spell, like she got Helen's hand and she started spelling the letters in her hand. And Helen learned that that word spelled water. So what are some important things that we should underline? And remember, we need to think back to our question. Remember, your assignment is asking, how did Helen Keller learn that letters form words? So we can actually find our answer on this page. Go ahead, Diamond.
Huh?
Huh? All right. How did Helen begin to learn letters? So what did Miss Sullivan do to help Helen learn how to read?
Put sign language on her hand so she can try to figure them out every day.
Yes, so so the first time Helen was able to learn how to read was when Miss Sullivan put her hand under the cool stream and then she started writing the letters for water in her hand and she kept repeating it over and over again. That's when Helen learned that those words spell water. Okay? So we're going to read the rest of this tomorrow. And remember, you're going to have to prepare for your writing assignment. You're just going to have to write one paragraph explaining or telling the story to your parents or to your family about how Helen Keller learned her first word in sign language. So the first word that she learned was water. And she learned that word by her teacher taking her to the water pump and spelling those words in the palm of her hand, okay? So right now we're going to go ahead and wrap up our writing lesson for today. Thank you guys for those who have been engaging and getting into their Nearpod and staying on. I appreciate you all so much. You're doing great. So now it is time for our math